All right, guys, we are day 2, MJBiz 2025. Thank you for joining me today.
Our pleasure.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. So we have a controversial title, Drivers Are Dead. Maybe we start with that, Mikhail. Let's go through and kind of give a little bit about your guys' background, and then let's dive in. So why don't you start?
Sure. I'm Mikhail Segal, CEO of TSR Grow. And yeah, our whole premise is drivers are dead. It's it's been a long time, and we've been a strong believer in that. But TSR Grow is a company that designs and manufactures advanced horticulture lighting, and our core is that we don't have drivers on fixtures. When we started drivers, we saw that as a weakness. They fail. You've got to run control wires. If there's a problem, you've got to go in the rooms and manage that and take care of it. There's no data-driven information. And so we centralize all of the power in rack-mounted power outside of the rooms. And through that, we can help cultivators deliver photons where they need them, when they need them, to deliver the maximum growth and optimize their outputs. And then all of that maintenance is outside. We don't need dimming wires. We don't need contactor panels. It saves a significant amount in upfront costs and operational costs and just long-term headaches. Drivers fail on fixtures, and we've got to centralize that power and move it out of the grow room.
Right on. And can we get a little bit of background with you, Zach?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Zachary Taylor. Fortunate enough to be in the industry. This is my 18th year. So I was the 8th 18-year-old to receive my license in Denver, Colorado. And
Wow.
I've been out in Massachusetts since 2018. I'm the chief cultivation officer for a company called Bountiful Farms. We specialize in rosin production. Right by me is my good friend, Corey. He operates a company called Harbor House. And we're really excited to talk about what we do in our companies as well as how we utilize the TSR technology.
Right on. And Corey, what about yourself?
Like you mentioned, I'm working in Boston right now with Harbor House Collective. I've been working in the regulated space for 15 years, started out in Colorado as well. Built a company called 710 Labs with a group of people in 2015.
Might have heard of them a couple of times.
Well, let me rephrase that. We started the solventless division of 710 Labs in 2015 and then grew that across a few states. But and then landed in Massachusetts.
Right on.
Fun,
Yeah. So we're going to be digging into why you guys chose TSR for your facilities and the differences that you guys see, some results that you can share today. And before we dive into that, can we dig a little bit deeper on what separates TSR from other lighting companies out there?
Mikhail.
Yeah, and
This guy right here.
I'm on fire. It's the flames. You just can't. I attract everything.
We need to get this in the suit version right here, man. The full suit. Can we make that happen, Gail, next year?
I've been talking to Zach about designing me a nice suit outfit.
Do it.
The flame
and the
good.
glasses as well.
Yeah.
We need to get the full fit.
All right. Well, you want to
I'll
copy?
do it one day. I'll do one day.
So we TSR Grow. Look, there's a lot of lights out there, a lot of lights. If we walk the floor, it's just proliferated with lighting. And I think one of the challenges, there isn't much differentiation. There's photons. You deliver the photons to the plants, they grow. Some different levels of, efficiency, maybe spectral differences. But really, to us, they're all the same. And they have the similarity is that they have the driver on the fixture. And we've been talking about this since we started the company 12 years ago. I've been in this LED industry for 16 years. And when we got into horticulture, we just looked at that and said, there's got to be a better way. And that driver on the fixture is the challenge and is the problem. In what separates us is our fixtures do not have drivers. Can we offer a driver with the fixture? Yes, but drivers fail. Consistently in this industry. You've got surges in the facility. You've got lots of switching power supplies and components. You've got all kinds of things that can go wrong. And what separates us from anybody is that we've eliminated that issue. We've centralized that power. We can deliver power and dimming on the same line. We have software applications that can deliver recipes for how you want to grow, when you want to grow. And we eliminate all that in-room maintenance. So that's really the differentiator.
Yeah. And Corey, I'm going to throw it back to you. Let's go back to the day you decided to implement TSR into your facility. What were the problems you were looking to solve?
Well, we were running a standard DE lighting, and I'll leave the company unnamed, but we were having a lot of failures. We were having bulbs pop, tables almost catching on fire, things of that nature, at a fairly high failure rate. So I was already kind of looking for the LED option. Always hesitant because I come from the world of growing with DEs.
Of course.
And as I was going through my search, I met Mikhail, and to his point, a lot of the LED technology, they generate photons. It's all very similar. But what he was able to do for me in Massachusetts was something pretty amazing. They worked with the rebate company, and we were able to replace all 400 lights for free. And Mikhail helped me go through that rebate process. Not only did we get them for free, we also got them installed. So it worked out really well. And then ever since then, it's just it's really worked. We haven't had any threat of tables burning, that's for sure. And to his point, any failure of any LED light that I've ever used, it's not really the light itself, it's the driver. So if you have 100 of them in a room and you got your ballast all above the light, it's a pain to be able to take it down. So the remote ballast is an amazing feature for not only that, but even pulling heat out, and it just makes it a bit more dynamic when you can start doing certain recipes for certain rows and certain genetics. It's pretty sweet. Yeah.
And for all those commercial growers out there that have not introduced energy rebates into their program, you got to do it. It's
Huge.
easy. It could take a little bit of time depending on your energy company, but you could get your entire facility retrofitted with new gear. So it's necessary. If you haven't done it yet, reach out. And Zach, how about yourself?
Yeah, similar to Corey. So we built out our phase 1 and then had our phase 1 pay for our phase 2. And so Massachusetts, you're regulated based on the square footage of the canopy in which you operate in. So we were grandfather claused in to be able to use HID bulbs at first. And similarly to Corey, I didn't have expertise in LED growing and vertical growing. And I met Mikhail in 2020. And I think one of the things that really impressed me about him was not only the technology he was bringing forward with the drivers, which we've mentioned, but I was a part of implementing their Grow Hub. And the Grow Hub is really what, to me, is the game changer. So what it allows us to do is create grow recipes. And so I can look at, this specific cultivar, and then I can plug and play. And so, it's not just an exact of 1,100 ppfds for this cultivar versus this cultivar. But we're actually being able to take that data and do a plethora of things with it. So I can bring that data to my CFO, and I can really look at this room had this many kilowatts per hour, which then is affiliated with this many grams per square foot. And really what I'm getting into is grams per watt. And so it really helps you, not only from, the fiscal aspect of it, but from the quality aspect of it and the scalability of it. For Corey and I, it's one thing to be able to be in the grow every day, but obviously we're here in Vegas, so there are times in which we're not, right? So to be able to hit that button and truly have that cultivar be grown to its maximum potential. And that's where I think the advanced lighting solution comes into play, is your crop steering with your lights in addition to your nutrients, in addition to your drybacks.
Yeah. And Corey, growing in Massachusetts, I'm sure you guys had some problems around electrical, limits and kind of how you built the facility. Could you talk about that and kind of your choice with TSR to solve some of those pains?
Yeah, the main limit that we ran into with our tiered license was they limit you for watts per square foot, right? It was like 36 and a half. So it makes it tough to really efficiently light, but utilizing LED, you can cover more ground more efficiently with less wattage. So we were able to kind of take 1,000 watt relative to a certain square foot, drop down to a 740, and more efficiently light the whole room and still stay within the threshold of the wattage. Yeah, I would say LED technology certainly is far more efficient in regard to output per watt than.
Yeah, Massachusetts has definitely offered some challenges to the to that space with the wattage limitation, and that generally can work on much better on a single level, or depending on how you want to implement the lights. But it's I think as Corey said, there's ways around it, but and as efficiencies have come up, there's opportunities to overcome that even better. But yeah,
Sure.
There's been some challenges there for sure, especially early on with the watts per square foot.
Yeah.
Limitation.
And how are you guys utilizing the specific, the strain-specific performance? Let's say the exact lighting recipe per cultivar. Can you talk about that a little bit, Corey?
Yeah. So we don't have super control like Zach does. We haven't gotten to the Cadillac level yet, but in regard to being able to dim it, and how it would work for us is is, not every genetic grows the same height. And if you're trying to have a desired PPFD at a certain point in the canopy, but you're running a sour diesel next to, a short indica growing plant, you're able to more easily rev up the zones dynamic relative to the cultivar. So you're not really causing problems or not hitting your PPFD targets in certain zones. So it just allows you to, instead of just having an A and B zone, you can be very specific with multiple zones and how you actually rev the lights up relative to the cultivar, is my experience.
Nice. What about the Cadillac model? Let's talk about the lighting recipes on the Cadillac model.
All right, yeah, on 22s, baby.
We got to put flames on that Cadillac.
Yeah.
So, no, I think one of the things that I truly love about it is, we're all weed nerds at the end of the day, right? But to be able to take that, and so three things that I think have made, the Grow Hub, from actionable data, right? So one, I use a specific far red spectrum. Mikhail likes to call it his pinkle. That's
Pinkle.
Pinkle. And we've seen up to a 1% increase in return to rosin with that far red. And so, understanding, and looking at the DLIs, in specific on, the far red versus, more of the full white. And in addition, what we've also been able to see is, really how to maximize that trichome development and really utilize, the recipes specific for the cultivar, and not only specific for the cultivar, but specific for what SKU that cultivar is going to end up in. Again, talking about, more far red for rosin and, for that flower, really that internodal structure we've found to have better success with more of that, full white spectrum. But really, again, it comes down to, the ability to have that recipe to where you can click it and maintain that same recipe throughout.
Yeah. And one of the hottest trends right now is under-canopy lighting. Every grower's talking about it. It's something that we specialize at Grow World, is helping growers try TSR Grow under-canopy lighting. Have you guys introduced those to your facilities yet, Corey? Yeah?
Yeah. I've run a lot of trials with a lot of different brands over the past 2 years now. And I can say all of the technology has increased output substantially. Like, I was a hater, skeptical, you could say, for a bit on if it would actually work. Because I feel like as long as you have a dialed over canopy light, you shouldn't have to use under canopy. But even with a dialed over canopy,
right,
adding under canopy will also still increase output. But yeah, no, out of the ones that we ran trials against, TSR was the one that actually output the most. We saw an increase of almost 50% on wet plant weight instantly. But dry weight, it's around 20-30% increase. And I don't want to say it was easy, but it was pretty
achievable.
Very, very achievable.
Yeah.
So yeah, I sing its praises. I've told Mikhail extensively, like they definitely work. And the proof's in the pudding. Like, I encourage anybody to do it personally.
Sign up for your trials today at growworld.com for TSR Grow under canopy lighting. And Zach, did you introduce them to your facility as well?
We did, in similar results. We had around an average of 2 ounces dry. And so, it's a significant increase. I think the challenge that I've had with my staff is really finding that balance into lollipopping too heavy, right? And so, totally. And really maximizing, what that under canopy can do, right? It really can turn those C's into B's. And so making sure that you're not stripping and shaving those legs as much as you normally would was one of the challenges that I found. But once we dialed that in and found that sweet spot, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a game changer. And I think, any reputable grower out there will tell you that, under canopy is a must.
Yeah. Kind of like those energy rebates, right? These are like a checklist going into 2026. If you don't have energy rebates or haven't utilized them, if you don't have under canopy lighting, that's the trend if you're taking away something from this panel. And Mikhail, what separates your under canopy lights from the rest?
Well, one of the things that, I just want to say we're privileged to be working with the likes of Corey and Zachary and other cultivators in this industry, as well as yourself in this space. I think it takes a lot of leadership and the right team and really a lot of complementary capabilities and really the trust to work together and really help each other improve. And that's been how we've been able to really improve our products, bring those together and drive the integrations between our tech and other tech, bring our technology from the US into Europe and across the world. And that has driven a lot of the innovations that we do, not only in the technology and the software that helps drive recipes and other things, but also in the lights that we deliver. So we're bringing under-canopy lighting with spectrums that are optimized for really penetrating under the leaves and into the plants and really bringing photons forward there and really working on those optimizations. But I'm also very excited, and I'll talk a little bit more about that, but also bringing in side lighting. I think side lighting is also a great innovation. So the ability to bring those products together, side lighting, which now is a little more natural to bringing light into the stomata of the leaf, but then also integrating that into the remote power. So we can, on different channels, we can drive under canopy, side lighting, top lighting, all driven by a recipe, all from a centralized location so that you can optimize when you use those photons and how you use them. And that really drives the separation. Look, there's a lot of good photons out there, and a lot, they produce good products. But I think being able to optimize how you do it really drives the higher yields and the higher output and the better expression and really the better optimization. And when you talk about rebates, we help all of our customers with rebates. We do that all in-house. But at the same time, we also are able to deliver those photons and use less energy with the remote power. And so when you're talking about grams per watt, we're really minimizing those wattages from how you use it. And that really, those things separate us from really anything that's out there.
Yeah. Let's dive into the mindset of a commercial grower looking at all the different lighting brands out there. I know, Zach, you mentioned kind of the Kleenex problem, right? Just having a synonymous brand in your mind of when you're going to buy. But how has that mindset changed, working with a brand like TSR?
Well, I think customer service is the number one answer there. There have been several occasions, the fact of they have the ability to, monitor 24/7. I was actually at a wedding one time, and my server room overheated, and Mikhail kept calling me until I answered. And so customer service is a huge part of that. But going back to the Kleenex analogy, what I meant by that is, when LEDs first came on, there was a particular brand who everybody purchased. And oftentimes when someone asks for a tissue, they don't ask for a tissue, they ask for a Kleenex, right? Because they've done such a great job of becoming synonymous with that product. And there was a particular company who, in Massachusetts, with these early, energy rebates, were over 50 to 60% of the state. And I had a trial with that company, and from the customer service standpoint, as well as from the tunability standpoint, and really being able to treat each cultivar with the intended purposes I discussed earlier. And so I think that really, focusing on, again, going back into what I think Mikhail has done a great job with, is it's an advanced lighting solution.
Right. So what happens if Mikhail is at the wedding? What's the
I'm having a good time. and Gail or the rest of our team is monitoring and making the phone calls. But I think that's one of the things that, look, I love what I do. I love working with our customers, and our core of our company is service and support. I mean, we drive that through everything we do. And anybody can call me anytime on the weekend. I mean, I'll text anytime. Whether it's me or our support team, it's just what we do. It's the customers first, and that's what allows us to do what we do, and and be successful, because our success is dependent on Zach and Corey's success, and
that's right.
Without that, we're nothing.
Yep. And Corey, have you ever been at a wedding, or did something go wrong in the past where the customer support really shined through for you?
Oh, totally. I mean, that's the biggest thing for any commercial growers. We know things break. So it's how quickly can we get them back online?
I think we were trying to coordinate meeting on a weekend somewhere.
I know. I'm just saying in regard to customer support too, Mikhail will call me. No, I'm just kidding. But no, it's that kind of build on Zach and maybe not answer your question, Nick. The customer support's the biggest thing. I've worked with a lot of companies where there's extensive failures, and even with TSR, we haven't had many at all. But he's a phone call away. Gail, anybody, their whole team. And even for me in Massachusetts, they're in Rhode Island. So if I really need to get to them, I can drive.
And we've got projects in Germany, Portugal, and Netherlands, U.S., all over the world. So
Colombia.
Okay.
We're offering the support everywhere. So it's what now I can't get there that fast, but
He speaks every language, guys.
Welcome.
Got an AI translator.
Yeah, it's good.
There you go. So let's talk about data, recipes, and repeatability. How do the lights allow for just consistency across every single harvest?
I think, well, one of the things with our Grow Hub software is that when you create a recipe, you can create a recipe around not only intensity, but spectrally as well. And then you can apply that recipe or save that recipe into the software. And what you do is when you load a room and you load a table or you load a row or a room, you can choose exactly where what strains you're putting in, and you can have specific recipes for each strain. And when you load that table, you can then assign that recipe to those lights, and it'll automatically implement that recipe and deliver the lights and the photons consistently and repeatably every time you grow that strain. Now you might come in and make some daily adjustments here or there, but it's running that recipe for that strain so that you can then consistently deliver those photons, consistently deliver your yields, consistently grow and optimize what you're doing repeatedly over and over again so that you can now have very high quality product consistently on the market. And that's, I think, what all of us are looking for is high quality, consistently, and at the lowest possible operating cost.
Yeah. And Zach, you mentioned working with your CFO in the Grow Hub software and kind of showing them the numbers. What does that conversation look like?
Yeah, so real life example, we grow a strain called Southern Hospitality. Great name, right? And so that was actually our highest return to rosin yet. So it was over 6%, which is not easy to do. And so we really wanted to track how did we do so. And so we went back and looked at the lighting schedule. And what we found is that, this particular strain did not want to be over 1,100 ppfds. So we then ran a similar recipe side by side and pushed it to 1,200 ppfds, and we saw not only a decrease in THC, but we saw, an overall light bleaching and, effect on the plants themselves, right? So particularly working with the CFO, what I've been able to do is focus, again, we're primarily a rosin producer, so we're looking at how many grams of rosin we're producing per square foot. And a lot of that, again, is tied into the kilowatts and the electrical load, right? If you look at what makes cannabis different from any other business, it's the fact that our electricity is such a great cost along with our labor. And so being able to look at that and being able to show how we can sell certain strains. So if I have a 6% return in which I'm able to produce with less kilowatts, then that particular strain, I can go to my CFO and say, we can white label this, we can wholesale this because our margins allow us to do so. Yeah. Whereas with this cultivar or this strain, with a normal 2 to 3% return, we need to keep that product in-house and sell that through our own retail partners. So it really does help us dictate how we go about our business model from soup to nuts, not only in terms of what plants we're cloning, but then what plants we're ending up, wholesaling as well as keeping in-house.
You agree with that, Corey?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys work with your kind of back office or admin team as well in a similar fashion?
Yeah, no, we definitely look at simply the ins and outs to try to understand what sort of margins and to his point, pricing. I think there's still opportunity in the market, kind of going on a tangent here, to, for lower yielding hashes that are amazing quality to be able to charge more. Similar to wine, right? Like lower yielding grapes, smaller batches, typically it's a better one. So I think to his point, like being able to use data to be able to prove that in a very, with a ton of conviction, will hopefully be able to help make those decisions. Not only to lower price, but hopefully increase price on certain varieties because of their quality.
Yeah. And let's talk about removing the drivers from the room. How has that impacted your guys' workflow, maintenance, sanitation, all that good stuff?
I mean, I can tap to it. A big one in cultivation, simply safety.
Safety.
To get to our lights, you got to pull out a 16-foot ladder, or 8-foot ladder, or 10-foot ladder. If the driver's up there to work on anything, it's a hazard there. So you remove a big safety hazard kind of out of the mix, but even just efficiency. Right now, certainly in our rooms, if we lose a light and there's giant plants, we can't really get to the driver. So if we want the light to stay on with the remote ballast, we're able to efficiently change it, things of that nature, if you have that issue. So I think on the maintaining side and even just general maintenance side, like it really adds a ton of value, as well as moving the heat out of the room. So that's another important.
And what about you, Zach?
Yeah, so to touch on the heat aspect of it, I think, that's the biggest key to me. So when you're looking at LED and vertical integration, you have, such a fine line to play with in terms of the proximity of your plant to the light itself. But to be able to have that plant be, 12 inches away and not have heat stress and not have light burn is something that you're not going to be able to do if that driver's intact. So to me, that's the most important. And as you alluded to, yes, I mean, obviously from a PPE standpoint, to have contractors or, to be able to simply just pull out that module and plug and play is another aspect of it. But when you're looking at, the quality of the product itself, the heat is key. And then, what you can also focus on is then mechanically, you can focus on, the transpiration and the respiration of the plant itself and have, your British thermal units, for dehumidification as opposed to cooling. Right. And so that's one of the things that, Mikhail and TSR does is you could certainly reduce the amount of heat load that room is producing. And so then your British thermal units, again, could be engineered accordingly to transpiration as opposed to heat.
And not only that, with the, by doing that through BACnet IP or Modbus, we can integrate into any building management system, any other system that's out there on the market. So when you start to look at ways in which you can really consolidate data and bring that in holistically into one clean package so that you can now have, recipe data, light data, energy, environment, temperature, humidity, even the nutrient dosing, all of those things. As you can bring all of those things together into one cohesive system, now you really can start to optimize and really drive down and deliver, really consolidated, optimized in data so that you can look at holistically at what you're doing in that facility for that plant and to really drive operations. I mean, we're talking about farming. It's scale farming, and you need to be able to do that as efficiently as possible with as much data as possible to drive that forward. And I think that's one of the biggest things that you can do with the centralized power that we have.
Yeah. And as we wrap up here today, guys, if you were to design a dream facility from scratch, what would that look like when it comes to lighting, layout design, and all of that?
So I'm going to 24-inch now? Yeah?
Yeah.
All right. 24-inch rims.
Daddy.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, obviously it's a no-brainer, not only from the personal relationship that I've built with Mikhail, but just in terms of what I truly believe that they have created a better mousetrap. I wouldn't build another grow without TSR. And I think that, again, going back into crop steering itself, I think there's great value in that, but I think that your crop steering is only as good as your lighting solution.
Yeah. What about you, Corey?
No, I agree exactly with what he's saying. But our understanding of how to cultivate commercially at scale is evolving, and it's cool that TSR is also trying to capture that side of it, not just utilize a photon to grow a plant, but tie a package together for feedback for data, to have a closed loop to be able to make better decisions. And that's where it's all going, being able to design a facility, not with just brick and mortar, lights, grow plants, being able to utilize technology that gives feedback from almost every point that you'd want to be able to make better decisions, I think is going to be necessary to be competitive in this space with the pressures of pricing and everything like that. It's the data is the most important thing to be able to make those decisions. But yeah, TSR would definitely be one of those things, and depending on how much we want to talk, but there's a lot of equipment that I'd love to use to build that Cadillac or Ferrari.
I think we got to stop looking at everything as its own little piece.
Yeah.
Facility, if you want to look forward at facility design, and this is one of the things that we get involved in and work with customers and talk to them about what are they doing. I mean, selling lights is really secondary. It's really helping them make sure that they have an optimized facility that they're designing and building, because our solution is going in early. But thinking about all the things that are going to go in, all the systems, the power, the HVAC, the lighting, how you're designing the flow, the workflow, the people, process, the plants, how you're utilizing everything is so important up front. And I think it gets overlooked because we're always chasing what's the cheapest this and what's the cheapest that, but that ends up costing you a lot of money and operational costs. So really driving an integrated, thoughtful solution and facility where everything is communicating together, that's what's needed.
Yeah. Well, guys, thank you so much for your time today. Day 2, MJBiz 2025. Let's kick it off.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate you guys.
Ditch the driver. you.